Okay. Hey guys, I'm Corey in this makeshift crate. Anyone who's new here, I am a customizer of toys. I've done some play sets as well. Mainly I do Origins. I have done a Masterverse figure. I've done some Superpowers. I've done some vintage He-Man. This video is going to be a broad view of tips and tricks on how to customize action figures. Stuff I'm going to be showing you should be good for any action figure, not just the ones I do. You should be able to use this for your G.I. Joes, for your Transformers, for your Big Jims, for your Marvel Legends, for your DCs, for your McFarlanes, for your Four Horsemen, for your Mattel Classics. Yeah, pretty much anything. So, we've got 10 sections for you. 10 chapters. I don't know how to do chapters, so that's going to take some doing. But I'm going to try to put chapters down below so that you can jump from thing to thing if you would like to. But please do not hold me to that if it doesn't work, because I've never done that before. That being said, let's jump in. Okay, we're going to start with choosing your base figure. Now, to do this, you got to start with an idea of what you want to make, what you want your outcome to be. On the shelf behind me are many of the figures that I've customized over the last several years. And like I said, I primarily do Origins, quite frankly, because they're easy. But I have done Masterverse, I've done Vintage He-Man, I've done McFarlane, I've done Superpowers. So I've done other things. To me, the key to success is finding a good base. What do you want the end figure to be? Do you want to make a Faker? Do you want to make a Batman? Do you want to make a G.I. Joe or a dinosaur or whatever it might be? Finding a base figure that's as close to what you want the end goal to be as possible is less work on you in the long run. For instance, with the Origins figures, if I'm doing a Faker, I'm going to either start with a Faker or start with a Skeletor because they're already blue. I wouldn't want to start with a He-Man because then I have to paint the whole figure blue. Do you kind of see what I'm talking about now? If I want to do a Superman as an Origins, okay, well, what does Superman have? He's blue. Most of them is blue, right? When I made mine, I did Mecha X body because it's blue. If you're going to do Batman, I used Hordak because it's gray. So finding a good base figure, and you can do this be it at Walmart or Target or at your local toy store. Your local toy store will have open figures, will have sealed figures, old figures, new figures, the whole nine. And so you'll have a better selection than you will at your local big box store. Now, you can also go to Amazon and find just about whatever you want. Same thing with eBay. But it's always better to support your local toy store because we need more of them and less of the big box stores. Above all else, hot water is your best friend. Now, I usually use a pot and hot plate, but you can use microwave water. A coffee cup into the microwave will do the job. You won't get it as hot as you will like this, and you will have to keep heating it up, but it will do the job. Using hot water out of a kettle will also do the job. I've done this a lot, and actually I would love to get one out here because it is quicker than this. With this, I can just keep it going, and I can just use it as need be, and I also use it for dyeing and stuff like that. We'll get to more of that later, but you can get so much done with hot water of pulling apart stuff that's not meant to be pulled apart. It's also good practice for new figures, especially with more articulation anyway, because it'll help soften the joints and stuff like that. So, again, hot water is your friend. almost every video I do when I'm cutting something, I'm using an X-Acto knife. Now, you've seen me in multiple videos use my good old bandsaw here. This was the cheapest bandsaw I could find on Amazon, and I got it 6 years ago when we started this YouTube channel. You can get one very similar at Harbor Freight, although I think it's more expensive. I think this thing cost me like $109, and that was it. And it has run like a champ. I've changed the blade every once in a while, but that's to be expected. I also have a big one too. It's in storage, but I don't need it for this. Most of what you're going to be doing, you can get away with just an X-Acto knife, or maybe a coping saw, which is literally, it almost looks like a hacksaw, but it's got a thinner blade, kind of like the bandsaw does. But when all else fails, sometimes you just need a pair of scissors, because maybe it's just paper or stickers or fabric that you're doing. A cutting wheel with fabric works amazingly, as long as you have a good cutting mat. I have several cutting mats. I have a big one and I have a little one. Just keep your heating stuff away from it and it won't work. I wish I would have known that. Also, get yourself a drill. You have no idea how often I use a drill. Even if it's just to make weapons or to connect stuff together, to put pins and stuff. Drill. Get a drill. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. I got this from Walmart. It's Hart. It's one of the cheaper brands. But you know what? All my tools are that. And guess what? They work amazingly. You don't need it to be expensive, but get a drill. For most of the stuff I do, I just use regular Vallejo paint. My mother-in-law got me this really cool case, and I can fit all of mine in here, including my custom He-Man color and the mirror silver that I tested out in the chrome video. I will have links to the mirror chrome in the description. And the He-Man skin color I got from Mega Customs X, whose video or channel I will also list in the description down below. But this is what I paint with for 99% of my videos will be the Vallejo paints. Now, that being said, I have also used these Lumiere metallic paints on multiple occasions. And sometimes you don't need paint at all. Sometimes you have to dye, and just regular white dye with a hot plate and some water is amazing, and will get some great colors. It usually isn't the finished color, but I'm finding more and more that instead of using a primer like this, I'm using more and more using regular lacquer. The reason why is, one, lacquer dries a lot quicker, and most of the stuff I'm doing doesn't have to flex. So lacquer will dry faster, adheres to more stuff. So you don't have to worry about, like with this, sometimes it doesn't cure right because of the plastic. Lacquer, I've never had that happen with lacquer. Lacquer, it always dries, and it dries good, and it dries hard, and it dries fast. And then you can go over it, and then you're good. So, maybe instead of using a regular primer, try a lacquer. Another big question you get all the time are, what kind of brushes do you use? I use all kinds of brushes. I've used really good high-end brushes like these that someone got for me, and I've used cheap throwaway brushes like this one. I've also used regular, like, dollar store brushes. I got chip brushes that are just foam or whatever. I have a toothbrush because, you know, doing like a starry pattern. You go to your big box store or your Michaels, and you're gonna see brushes that are high-end and expensive, and you're also gonna see ones that are cheap and accessible. I find that the brush matters less than the paint. If you have good paint and you have a paint that works good, your paint doesn't matter, or your paintbrush doesn't matter as much. You want, this is kind of what you need. You need a fine tip brush. You need a medium tip brush. Like both, you know, to a tip, but you know, medium thickness and small thickness. Something to cover like a lot of area, and something to carry a lot more paint. You know, like you can paint almost everything you need to with these 4 brushes right here. The rest of these are just extra, are just good for different applications. You go to Walmart or Michael's or whatever, like I said, and find a multi-pack of different kinds, of different sizes. I would get acrylic because most of the paints I use are acrylic, but you're gonna be good. You're gonna have everything you need in that pack. And if you want to shell out some more money and get better brushes that you're gonna take care of, that's fine, do it. I'm horrible about taking care of my brushes. So I'd rather just get brushes that like I'm not worried about like leaving them in the water too long and now they curl permanently. Like, no, I'd rather just, when I'm done with that brush, I'm gonna toss it or I'm gonna use it for glue or whatever, and I'll get another one. On that same note, sometimes it's not all about what paint you're using. Spray paint works well. Using acrylic paint in an airbrush is another idea. I know a lot of creators that use airbrushes, and I have one. I have not airbrushed since high school. Actually, no, that's not quite true. It was my mid-20s. So it's been almost 20 years since I've used an airbrush. But from what I understand, that's actually a better way of doing it. I just haven't yet. But if you know how to airbrush, you're a leg up. But also, masking tape. Get masking tape. This will save you time, especially if you found the right base figure and he or she's already the right color. You just need to add some stuff. Masking tape. You can apply this and get all kinds of different kinds. But masking tape from the dollar store, the cheap stuff, will work. It's what I use. This is not expensive stuff. It's masking tape. It's fine. You don't need to get Scotch Brite. You don't need to get the most expensive stuff. Get it from the dollar store. It's fine. I've also seen some people use latex. I tried this once, and it didn't really work for me. That's not saying it doesn't work. I didn't get it to work. If you can get it to work, great. Leave a comment down below and let me know how you did it. So, maybe spend more money on better paints and less money on better brushes. If you go to your big box store, you're going to find plenty of adhesives that you need. My go-to is usually CA glue or super glue, and you can get an activator for it. You also have things like 5-minute epoxy, which is also really good. This can also be used to cast with. It's not that much different than 2-part epoxy. A lot of people don't realize that epoxy is actually meant to be an adhesive, not a casting material. It's just that it has been adapted into a casting material. You can also get stuff like plastic weld right here. I have a couple different kinds of this. But also, you know, you might need wood glue. You might need PA glue. You might need Mod Podge is a type of glue. Like, the list goes on and on. So, like, yes, you need something to adhere things to other things. Contact cement is also another good one. Spray adhesives. Depending on your application, you can use any of these, but not all of these. Kind of depends on which time. If it's going to be something that needs to hold firm and isn't going to bend, CA glue's your man. If you need something that's going to have a little more flex and a little more give to it, maybe something more like contact cement or a plastic weld that actually fuses the plastic together and will retain its natural properties. It doesn't adhere them together. It chemically bonds them together. So that might be a better idea. You know, a 5-minute epoxy is also going to bend a little bit, but sometimes the E6000 is your man. But don't be afraid to just use hot glue. Sometimes the cheapest way is the best way. Okay, so with Greeblies and add-ons, these are going to be a little different. So Greeblies are little pieces like this that are either left over from other things, cut-offs, or things like these. These are the insides of milk jug handles. Like, these are all Greeblies. These are pieces you're going to add to other things to add texture or detail and stuff like that. That can be anything. Leftover pieces of fur that you cut off. Backs of hoods that you cut off. Leftover pieces of foam. Like the inside of an arm. The last little bit of a harness. Like, these are all Greeblies. The lens from April O'Neil's staff that I just dropped. Like, these are Greeblies. These can be added to other things to add detail and story to them. Now, those aren't the only kinds of add-ons that you have. You also have stuff like stickers and heat transfers. Heat transfers I don't use very often other than shirts. But you can also get like printable water slide decals. I've used them on Battle Armor Faker. Oh, I think I used them on the Storm Raider. But I also use stickers on that. Like, those are add-ons. Vinyl from your Cricut, self-adhesive, is another type of add-on that I have used once or twice, but not too much. You will get more out of it by adding something to it than you will by sitting there and trying to hand paint all that or hand sculpt all that detail. Taking something, gluing it on there, calling it done, it's way quicker, way easier result. In almost every video I'm asked what this is. These are called second hands. When you buy one, they're actually for soldering. They come with forearms, and they actually come with a place for your soldering iron and stuff like that. I've bought a couple more since then because I use this in almost every video, and it is invaluable. Now, that being said, I've also made this, which I use just to put my head on and stuff like that. Now, you can also buy other stuff like clamps. Just regular woodworking clamps are amazing. I will use these to do hands all day long and just clip them on here, or they'll stand up on its own, you know, for painting or for whatever. It is awesome, and this is so much easier. There are, I don't know the guy's name. I will have it up on screen, but there is a 3D modeler who reached out to me because he made a whole a system of holders and jigs and this and that for this, for modeling, for customizing, for miniatures, for whatever. And it is awesome. I have not bought it. I have not 3D printed it yet, but you can 3D print it. You can model your own thing, or like I did, make your own thing. This literally was a top to a figure that I wasn't going to use anyway. And so I just glued it to a spare piece of 2x4, and there we go. So anything that will hold your piece while you're painting it or gluing it or sculpting it is perfect. Sometimes you already have the part you need. Sometimes you just need to make another of it. Or sometimes you want to make it in a different color. Maybe you can't find the base figure you want, but you found the sculpt you want. So you're gonna break the figure down and you're gonna make it the color you want. I did the same thing when I made Slime Pit He-Man. I broke down Origins figure all the way to all the parts and then cast each and individual one in a 2-part silicone. Now you can get this at Michael's. I'm not sure if you can get it at Walmart. You can get it on Amazon. It can be expensive, but you can get little starter kits. If you've never done it before, I suggest using like Smooth On or whatever. It's real friendly for the first time user, and it works pretty quickly. You can also get like a 2-part silicone putty that cures and dries in 20 minutes, and then you're off to the races. You just have to make sure that you have vent holes, a place for a spout hole, place for you to pour in whatever you're pouring, usually resin. You can do clay too, but I wouldn't suggest it. Place to pour it in, and a vent hole for it to come back out. That way you know you got everything. Just like this, it's a 2-part 1-to-1 ratio. You'll find some that are 2-to-1, 2-to-3, or 1-to-3. Same thing with resins. After you've made your mold, you need to, do it in something that can easily be broken apart and put back together. Maybe like a solo cup, or Legos are really good for this, for making mold boxes. This kit came with a border, and literally clip together with binder clips, and then when you're done, you just unclip them together and you take it all apart, and you make several different size boxes. A 2-part resin to fill all this up with some mica powder or dye will work amazingly to get you a wide variety of colors and even textures that you want. Just make sure that you have the finish you want on the original part, and if you don't, you have to apply that finish to the original one, so that when you cast it, you get it on the new one. Save you some finishing. Yeah. Sometimes you're not gonna find the texture you need, or the arm size you need, the fur you need, the whatever, and then you gotta sculpt it. So you can do this multiple ways. You can use your 3D printer. You can use MILLIPUTS. You can use Super Sculpting. Super Sculpting is an oven dry clay. You bake it in the oven, it dries, it takes 20-30 minutes. This takes 3 or 4 hours to cure. The difference is, this might warp your plastic. This will not. This will allow you to get done in a day. This will not. But sometimes the trade-off of being fast is it's not going to be as accurate. Sometimes if you take a little more time, it's going to work a little better. Now, to sculpt it, you can use a Dremel. You can use a drill or sandpaper or whatever. Most of the time, I'm using a knife. And then, but while it's still wet, you can just get sculpting tools like these. And I think both of these work with water or alcohol. And you sculpt them the way you want. You sculpting your detail, and you do it right. Once you add some paint, you have no idea it was ever there. It is seamless. It's like anything else. The more time you put into it, the better, and the more detail you add, the better it's going to be in the long run. If you need to sculpt something a little more flexible, they have foam clay, and this is literally just like craft foam, but only it is clay. So you can sculpt it. It's not as good and as detailed as you would get with like the Milliput or the putty, but you can use it for hair. I've used it, that's mainly all I've used it for. I don't think I've used it for anything else. Another thing I've used to sculpt with is craft foam. I've used this to make so many armors, and people always ask me what this is. I get it in big sheets. I actually get it in blocks, and it has several different colors, and it is literally, I think $10 or $15 for like 30 or 40 sheets. It is cheap as hell. It's like 2 millimeters thick, and this is the same kind of foam as like when people make a foam mask or something like that. This is EVA foam. It's the same stuff that you would make for cosplay. It's the same stuff. It's just thicker. That's the only difference. So try using some of them next time you need to add something. All right, guys, so that's going to be the end of it. Hopefully this kind of answered some questions on things to use, things to do, ways to do it, stuff like that. Above all else, there are no rules. Like, there's no wrong way to do it. There's no right way of doing it. There's my way, there's his way, there's her way. Now, there are going to be some ways that are more successful than others, but that doesn't mean they're right or wrong. Like, a good friend of mine, Allison, calls me the MacGyver of Customs because I will pull some random ass shit out of my ass that no one sees coming. But that's because this wasn't my background. My background was as an artist and as a maker and as a woodworker and a prop maker. And so I come at this differently. If you're coming at this just watching my videos or Toy Ploy or Mr. Home Arcade or you know, any of the other many customizers on Instagram like Toy Tinker or whatever, you're gonna copy the way they do it versus the way I do it. I learned a lot of this from watching I Like to Make Stuff and Punish Props and Evan and Caitlin and Toy Ploy. So four very different makers. You know, Jimmy DeResta is another one. Like, you're gonna find different ways of doing stuff. Be open to suggestions. Be open to criticism. And you'll do just fine. Hopefully this was helpful. Don't forget to check out the playlist of all the customs I've done up here. I'm gonna link that Chrome video right here. Hopefully that's helpful. And I will see you next week with a brand new custom. See you guys.